Hey, Renaissance family, this is Jessica Rice. I am really excited to share 3 conversations I had with community members about our In Harlem as It Is in Heaven campaign. We are just hitting the 1 year mark in this campaign to raise funds as we seek to find a permanent space for Renaissance Church and to start a community development corporation to serve Harlem, our community that we love. In case you're new, or you could just use a reminder, our collective challenge in this campaign was to first give courageously with the largest one time gift we'd ever given to the church, to two, give consistently, so above and beyond our general fund gift for a period of 25 months, and to give creatively, thinking outside the box for how we might use non traditional possessions or talents to invest in this campaign. You're going to hear my voice sounding a little hoarse in these conversations, so excuse that, but I was so encouraged by these stories, and I hope that they inspire you as well. First up, we have Sue. If you know Sue, you know she's hilarious and the life of the party, and I love how she approached giving creatively. She hosted a fundraiser called Save It or Shave It, where people could vote with their dollars for Sue to either save her long, beautiful hair or to shave it at the end of the fundraiser. She is braver than me. Let's hear her story. So, Sue, thanks so much for making time to talk. When did you first come to Renaissance?
Back in 2015, actually, I was living in Battery Park City at the time, and I was going all the way to Hackensack, New Jersey. I go to this Korean Presbyterian church out there, and I was committed there. So I was commuting, and then I had this job that I had during that time. I was traveling internationally. So then that Sunday, I was going on a trip, and I couldn't make it out to Jersey. So that's how I ended up going to Renaissance that Sunday.
Wow, so it's kind of by accident, just
Yeah.
a change to your routine.
Yeah.
Wow. And when you did come, what did you think?
I loved it. It was amazing. It's like I visited big churches before and but I really loved Renaissance. It was like stumbling upon something that you didn't realize you were going to enjoy so much. And Jordan, his sermon yesterday, it's not as dramatic, but he talked about like the scripture passage where you stumble upon a field and then you sell everything you have to go and buy that field too.
What were your thoughts when you first heard about the In Harlem as It Is in Heaven campaign?
Yeah, I remember I was sitting in service and I was just like, because I work at a nonprofit now and I have worked at a nonprofit before that. And I've also been a missionary and I've served at a seminary. And I've never really seen like a church and a nonprofit work together in that way. It was very much maybe because I was raised Korean and I went to a Korean church. And I'm not sure how it is with other non-Korean churches, but for me, it always felt like, oh, this is what you do outside of church. This is what's going on outside of church, but inside of church, we do the Christian things. And if you want to do anything to change what's going outside of church, you pray about it. But
Mm,
like, there's nothing that we do about it. Yes, God is a God of justice, but it's hard to like fuse the two, I think. And so I've never seen that really happen before.
yeah. So then what was it like for you discerning how much to commit to the campaign?
Yeah. It was hard for my mind to wrap around the concept, but I trusted the church. I think when I'm at a church and I'm a member of a church, I'm serving there, I'm tithing there. When they come up with an idea like this, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sure they've thought about it before sharing it with the congregation. So this is where like I think my faith comes in. Even though I can't imagine it, I'm going to trust that the staff, even though I don't know beyond the building where that money's going to go and what that's going to look like. I'm like, okay, for me, it's just a step of faith at this point. And we did talk about it in our DNA, and it was just like none of us really knew what was going on. And to me, the campaign, it just felt very sudden. Like I didn't see it coming. So I was like, oh, okay. I'm sitting in church service and being challenged by it because, Jordan and the staff, they would ask us to do the biggest gift ever or commit monthly and do a creative gift. So it to me, it really is like a step of faith.
Wow. Yeah. So tell me about giving creatively, your process for coming up for you with your idea to give creatively and how it impacted you.
So I've done this once before back in 2012 when I was raising funds to go to Japan as missionary. And I don't know how I came up with it because I don't know if they were doing challenges back then, like the ice bucket challenge and things like that. I don't know if they were doing things like that back in 2012, but somehow like God whispered in my like, oh, save it or shave it. I had long hair back then too. I've gone through all lengths of hair, but yeah, I threw the save it or shave it. It was at a bar in New York City and it was open bar, and I always had my parties there. And then, back then, there was no Venmo, there was no Zelle. So I had my sisters, I just printed out these buckets with, like, me with my long hair and another picture with, like, my head shades. And then my sisters were holding the buckets, and it was hilarious because I had no idea what's going on. So people came in with cash, with checks, and then you just count it at the end of the night. And, I have the clippers there. I have a person who's going to shave my head if there's more money in the shave it jar. So it was like much more like nerve wracking, I think, that night. And my sisters were going so hard. I think there was one member of our church at the time where he, like, wrote out, like, a pretty decent check to shave it, and they gave him such a hard time that he wrote the same amount to the save it jar. You had to have, like, a strong will to be able to fight my sisters on putting in shave it and not adding more to the save it jar. So then this time with the creative gift, I'm working at a nonprofit, and so my budget is very restricted, and I'm like, "What can I do where it's not gonna take too much money to do the creative gift?" And so that's how I came up with Save It or Shave It, and I go to Roadhouse all the time, and I have a good relationship with them, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna do a party, and I wanna do it where I can invite people who don't go to Renaissance, who maybe are not even Christian." I think, people with a lot of churcher who don't go to church anymore came to the party and they donated, so it was amazing. It was and I think, like, people who don't even identify as Christian donated to the event.
Amazing. So all in, how much did the fundraiser raise?
Yeah, and I didn't really think too much about, like, how much. I was like, "Oh, 2 grand is, more than enough." And then actually more than 5 grand was raised. So, just totally blown away, and I think it's so humbling when you see how people are giving and, just having had to raise money for my missions trip before and seeing how my home church gave, like, the grandmas gave, like, cash and these are Korean grandmas who don't speak English, they're not working. So it's really humbling to see how people are supporting the work that you do. And I feel like
Yeah.
yeah, a level of ownership to that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. What are you hoping God does with our collective generosity?
Yeah, I think biblically, I love the verse in Matthew, the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus goes, "The city on a hill cannot be hidden." I love that verse because it just takes away so much pressure. I think it's like, okay, the city is the Christian, it's the church, and just be there. You know what I mean? Be there in the darkness, and people will see how you shine in the darkness. So for me, that's what I'm like envisioning for this nonprofit. Personally, I would like to see a lot of like community engagement, a lot of transparency, and all these things. But I think just like biblically, yeah, just being like a light in Harlem.
Yeah, I love that. So, would you encourage others to support the campaign?
I think if you believe that God can do amazing things, and if you love justice and generosity, if those are values that speak to you, then yeah, definitely donate, be involved, with everything that's going on. And just seeing like how my tax money is being spent, it's so frustrating. It makes me so angry. I'm not even born in the US. So as like an immigrant, I can't believe what's going on. But the money that I do have in my bank account, I have full control over. And so with that money, like, what do you want to do? You're so angry about what's going on outside, but you have full control over how you spend your money in other places.
Wow, yes. Amen. That's amazing. So, thank you so much, Sue, for not only just taking an active role in this community, but just who you are and everything that you add to our church. We love you a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, I love the church so much. So I'm glad that I can help out in any way.
Next up, we have Josh, who's been a member of our community for more than a decade. He and his wife, Lizzie, have four beautiful children. So giving courageously must have felt like a real act of faith. Let's hear about why he felt called to join in with the campaign. Great. So, Josh, can you start by just sharing when you first came to Renaissance Church?
Yeah, I believe I started attending Renaissance in 2013 or 14. Well, the first thing I loved when attending Renaissance was when I got to know you and Jordan and who you were as people and leaders, and just the ease in which we were welcomed into the small and growing community was really a change of pace from what I was used to. And as a new Christian, that meant a lot.
I love that. And you've been around Renaissance for a long time, and this is our first time doing a campaign like in Harlem as it is in heaven. What were your thoughts when you first heard about the campaign?
I don't think I had too many like deep thoughts. I mean, obviously I know it's important to raise money to feed both the church that we get fed by every week, and also to grow and make sure that we have space for others to be fed as well. I think what really was exciting about it was the opportunity that you guys presented to develop a CDC, which to me is just the most beautiful idea of loving a community. Whereas like a church I go to and I'm fed on a weekly basis, like I mentioned, I expect to get a good word. I expect the music and all the production, but as a consumer, that's very different with a CDC. You're not going and expecting anything of it other than just to be taken care of and to be loved. And so I think it's a really great opportunity for me to support a community that I have loved and has been good for me, my wife, and my kids in a way that doesn't have any expectation of a return.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. So, what was it like for you to discern how much to commit to the campaign and not specific amounts, of course, but just the conversations you and Lizzie may have had together, how you prayed? What was that process like for you?
Well, after we heard about the raise, we both prayed independently about what we're committing to. And it was really seamless. God spoke to us in the same way. We agreed on the same percentage increase of gift, and it felt right. And so nothing more said. I
That's
think,
awesome.
in practice, planning for that amount of money with four kids and a tight budget is always scary. But, praise God, as we approach the end of this year, we were able to do more. We're able to meet what I think is our goal that we set last year, and also have all the bills paid, all the financial stuff that we were worried about not getting done in the same breath. And so, true to form, like putting your faith in God and stepping out with your finances as an expression of that. It's never failed, and this is another example of that.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, tell me about how giving courageously has impacted you, and it sounds like you just found God meeting you in ways that maybe you didn't anticipate, but maybe trusted him for.
Yeah, it's always been tough to come up off these dollars in New York City, and and this year it hasn't. I actually, weirdly enough, and I don't this, of course, this has to be God, but this year I did that without even thinking about it, and it ended up being the exact amount we had in advance committed to. So
Yeah.
there's abundance at the end of this year, and we're at this place now where all the bills that we plan to pay and all the investment that we plan to make are set. We also fed the community and the church, and
Mm.
we have the holidays to look forward to.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. What are you hoping God might do with Renaissance Church as a community, our collective generosity?
I mean, my hope has always been for Renaissance that it'd be a place that my kids can come back to, a place that is sustained over time, and that the kids would feel as though they have a home there when they grow up and come back from college. And I'm also just really proud that we raised a few of them in Harlem and are still connected to the community that we love. And so if we can keep feeding the community in ways, what we don't have is a lot of a time. And so this creative raise is really a great way for us to continually feel like we're connected to the community and supporting a community that has supported us for so long. So
Yeah, that's great. I love that. So, would you encourage others to support the campaign? And if so, why?
I mean, the why is just because God asks us to tithe and to give first fruits to Him. And while that's hard in New York, and there's never enough, no matter how much you make or don't make in New York City, it just every time I've met that need, there's always been more than I had planned. And so, just continuing to trust God with our finances as well as our decisions is the call. We all know it, but in my life, it's a testament to how good and how abundant God has been with my family.
Yeah, I love that. I've always said that in that being generosity has just always blessed me. It's felt scary, but on the back end, the blessing in return of realizing God provides and sees and knows what we need, and we get a chance to partner with Him. It's always just far outweighed that fear on the front end. The back end has just always been so sweet.
Back, the back end is always sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, anything else that you'd want to share before we go?
No, just thank you for casting vision for the CDC, and thank you for leading in such a way. And so, really, just thankful for Renaissance as a whole, for being a place for me and my family to continue to grow and be fed.
Yes. Well, we love you all. We love the arts, so thank you.
We love you guys too. Finally, we're hearing from Hannah, who was a dedicated member of our community for years. We announced the campaign just as she was preparing to leave New York. So for her to give consistently meant that she was going to be giving to a cause that she may not reap the reward from. I absolutely love her honesty about the discomfort of giving sacrificially. Let's hear from her now. Hannah, when did you first come to Renaissance Church?
I first started coming to Renaissance when I first moved to the city in May of 2022.
Yes. And so tell me, what were your thoughts? Having been at Renaissance for a few years, what were your thoughts when you first heard about the In Harlem as It Is in Heaven campaign?
Yeah, I, on the one hand, was excited because these two needs are so obvious and so great. And so was stoked that we were doing something. We're not going to wait for the perfect thing to arrive to us. We're going to go get it. And we're going to, best way to be ready is to stay ready. And so let's get ready now. So I was really excited. And I was pretty immediately bummed because it just felt like a real cost. So at the time, I knew I would probably be moving soon. So one, I was kind of bummed of like, okay, well, like I won't even get to enjoy this, which then that was a good reality check. I'm like, oh well, hey, no, the building's not for you. Newsflash. And then also I was like, oh, this isn't just money in my bank account. Like I knew I was moving out of the city and preparing to probably buy a house. And I was like, oh, this is real cash that I could use for a real down payment on a real thing that like I could buy a different house if I didn't do this. And yeah, that little twinge was usually is the sign that I know that like that's exactly what God wants from me. So yeah, I was thrilled, but I knew it was gonna hurt a little bit, but hurt good. Like a bruise, like like poking a bruise kind of feels good because you're like, okay, yeah, that's like something real to me.
Wow. Yeah, it was costly. What was it like for you discerning how much to commit to the campaign? Not necessarily the specific amount, but
Yeah.
were you talking to trusted people? Were you praying? Like, what was that process like for you?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to push myself and to let myself be pushed. So I it's pretty common with God and in my walk with God of like I just feel like that's been a theme of like give until it hurts. Because if you're not, then yes, that's a good thing. But like, what does that really mean to you? There's a verse it's in Second Samuel, but like on my mind a lot this year where King David basically he's talking about like some sacrifice, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, I'll give you all this animals, whatever, free." And he's like, "I'm not going to make a sacrifice that costs me nothing." And so I knew I wanted to give and went to a point where I felt it. And so yeah, I think naturally I started with what's reasonable and what feels good. And then I think just started praying through like, okay, but God, what would it look like to push me outside of my comfort zone? And what does this church need? I think it's about me and the spiritual growth and the experience that I have from this, but also like, I think this is my dollars can do real work for the kingdom and in this church and in my neighborhood. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be a better use of my time than slightly an extra bathroom in a house. And so, yeah, I think there wasn't a magic formula. It was just what's practical and comfortable. Okay, let's give more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was similar for me and Jordan, like, what can we do? And then what feels like stepping out on faith
Yeah.
and what feels costly. So, yeah, I really resonate with that. So, tell me, what has giving consistently felt like for you? How has that impacted you?
It was, which is what I signed up for, but like it has not been easy. Giving consistently, it's yeah, it stings every time. It stings every time I see like, shoot, that's money that I could have had and it's gone. So I think it's been something I feel on a monthly basis as I do my budgeting of, gee, it sure would have been nice. And I actually reached a point where, yeah, I was like, I think I got to pause and I'm going to pause. And I was like, I'll still like mentally set aside that money, but like, this is too scary. And I like the security of having some margin. And I didn't have that. And so, yeah, I remember it was like a Sunday afternoon and I was like, I'm going to log in, cancel it. And then I swear it was like an hour and 15 minutes later, where it's just like in that time, it was so clear. And it wasn't a judgment. It was a very gentle feeling of like, seriously? You don't trust me? Like, my money can either sit in my bank account or be spent on day to day Hannah operations, or can be used to like purchase a building and bless our friends in Harlem that really need it. And then the other, like, half of that testimony, I ended up unexpectedly getting a raise shortly thereafter. I mean, like, I think days or weeks after that. I mean, really not expected. And it was the exact amount of my monthly gift, my monthly recurring gift. And so I just, it really shook me to see how much God cares. I think God really cares about Harlem. I think God really cares about Renaissance. And I think he's really passionate about blessing this. And so, yeah, it was a really sweet affirmation of we're doing this on purpose. Like this, it's supposed to be hard. But like God is going to do really big things and he's involved. Like this isn't tangential to the work of the church. This isn't tangential. This isn't real estate is not tangential to like gospel proclamation. Like it is all part of it. Like it is all enabling and it's in a sense gospel proclamation in and of itself. So yeah, and I think lastly, it's been a really great like training for me thinking about legacy. I have since left New York and I just keep having this image of like, yeah, I'm planting and watering trees that like I won't necessarily get to sit under. And that's a good thing. And I think, yeah, one day, because of the modern age. I get to stay in touch and like follow along with this, but also I think someday in heaven, we will all get to learn about how these little acts of sacrifice mattered and how they actually paid off. I think each of these small sacrifices that we make are truly enabling kingdom come, which is just so rewarding and makes any pain of it so worth it.
Yes, I love that. So, what are you hoping that God does with our collective generosity?
I am hoping that God gives us a building, which is which is a hard prayer because buildings are, especially in a city in Harlem, that is a finite resource. Those don't just pop up necessarily. Like there's a finite resource, specifically churches that don't require zillions of dollars of renovation. And so, yeah, I'm hoping that God gives us a building. I know how much I've lived it, how much work it is, the setup and tear down, and not having a place during the week to gather and welcome people. And so I'm just stoked the idea that we'll be ready and that God's going to provide something at the right moment and we're going to have the cash in the account and we'll be able to just run after it. And then I'm also really, really excited to see how, yeah, we can really directly bless and really directly meet the physical needs of our neighbors that I walk by on my way to and from church every time and will be able to say, to invite them into a place and be able to meet their needs in a tangible way.
So, would you encourage others to support the campaign?
Absolutely. It is so healthy for us as Christians to do things that aren't all about us. And this is one where it's like, you might never, the building might take longer than you live in New York City. You might never get to enjoy that. You're probably never going to use the services that our CDC provides. And do you trust that God, the model that he lived of like sacrificial love, do you trust that that's a good model and that will be good for you and good for other people? So I've loved it. It has been the first ever like campaign or anything like this I've done as an adult. And it has definitely gotten me fired up I can't wait for the next one in 5, 10, whatever years where I get to experience this wrestling, like really wrestling and taking the spotlight off myself and giving sacrificially. So 1000%, even if it's whatever the sacrifice is, like it's the woman and her 2 pennies going up and Jesus being like, absolutely, yes, I love those 2 pennies. Whatever that looks like, I think let's just all keep giving our 2 pennies.
Yes, I love that.
But I'm really excited for us as a church.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's
Yes.
coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when we get to the end of it all and we announce that we do have something, you can come to New York City and hang out with us.
Absolutely, I will. Yeah. Oh, I would love that so much.
Family, I am so inspired by the way God is moving in our church through this campaign season. These are just 3 stories, but they represent hundreds more. Seeds being planted, faith being built, trust being tested. We hope that if you aren't already, that you would consider coming alongside us as we are seeking to dig deeper roots here in Harlem. You can find out more info about the campaign by going to renaissancenyc.com/Harlem. And if you have a story to share, we would love to hear it. So shoot us an email with your story. Send it to info@renaissancenyc.com. Love y'all.